That is really nice that you mentioned the principle, because first of all, we have to discuss and we have to understand what is the meaning behind the principle. Why do we even care about the principle? And we we are actually already familiar with some sort of principle when we were discussing about like Agile Manifesto. And Agile Manifesto, some of you might already know, that has 4 values and 12 principles. And if someone trying to get the knowledge about SAFe, they do have a 10 principle. Less, they do have a principle. So now we were discussing about the Kanban principle. So it means that there is something important in the principle. Why do we even care about the principle? What the advantage we are going to get when we discuss about the principle? So before even dig down, before even trying to understand what the principles of the Kanban are, let's try to understand why do we even need the principle. So we need the principle because principles actually give us a direction. Principles are pretty much like our litmus test. What does it mean? Why I'm even saying this thing? There are lots of different contexts available in the world. So if I'm going to claim that, okay, this is the one best practices, and you are going to use this best practice no matter what, and it will solve all of your problem, it is some sort of magic wand, it is some sort of superpower, then definitely that is not going to happen. There is no such a thing as that magic wand that will magically solve all of the problems. So we have to come up with some sort of practices, and we are going to have a discussion about the Kanban practices in few minutes. But just before that, forget about the Kanban or anything. So in every domain, in every knowledge area, in every body of knowledge, so there are some set of practices. Those set of practices may or may not be applicable to your context. This is quite possible that one set of practice is perfectly suitable in one environment, but may not be suitable in another environment. So now, if you are going to introduce some practice and you want to introduce some things that may be suitable for your context, here comes the principle. Here, the principle helps you whether you are going in right direction or not. Whether whatever the practices, whatever the things you are introducing, you can check with the litmus test of the principle. If those set of practices, those things you are going to introduce in the organization, in the team, in the personal capacity, in whatever way you want, if those things are aligned with the principle, then you are going in a right direction. If you are in a violation of the principle, then it means that you are not going in a right direction. Let's take a look at the concrete example and trying to understand these things. So the concrete example here, start with the Kanban, and if we have a time, we can discuss the other examples. But in Kanban, we actually have the 6 principles, and those 6 principles are divided into 2 categories. So you can see the 2 columns here. So the 2 columns are 2 different types of principles. So one type of principle is the change management principle, and the another type of principle is the service delivery principle. So let's take a look at what does it mean, the change management principle and service delivery principle. So there are 3 principles in change management and 3 principles in service delivery. So take a look at the first principle. Start with what do you now. So this is very basic principle of the Kanban. Kanban is not advocating that you are going to change everything drastically. You are not going to introduce a new rules, new procedures, new mechanism, something else. So he said, start from where you are right now. So this is a very interesting and very attractive thing for most of the organization, because if the organizations are going to use some other practices, then depends on the practices, they might have to do some prep work. In some practices, some framework, some body of knowledges, the work can be comparatively less or comparatively huge. In Kanban, they said start from where you are. And this is what I'm going to say. You can take a look at the litmus test and you can see whether you are going in right direction or not. You will start from where you are. Take a look at the second principle, and that's exactly what is written below the first bullet point. Start with what do you now. Understand the current process as usually practiced and respecting the existing role, responsibility, and the job title. So it is not like that we are going to introduce or drastically change something. And so many times we came across this particular situation that the organization just changed the title to the new title that is prescribed or defined by that particular set of framework or body of knowledge. But eventually they are doing exactly the same thing, just changing the name of the title.
Right.
So Kanban said, start from where you are. Sharad, do you want to add anything?
Nope. Let's go.
Okay. So gain agreement to pursuing improvement through evolutionary changes. So we are continuously making the changes to improve ourselves, and we are going to see in the second set of principle also. So it is not about we stop after looking for where we are, but eventually we are improving the things. And this actually helps us to go to the next one. This is a very good segue that encourages the act of leadership at all levels. So we are not saying, okay, the top levels are only the leaders. So we are trying to encourage the leadership, because leadership, again, it can be a completely different rabbit hole. We can have a whole discussion of this thing, the leadership versus management. So it does not mean that you have to have a manager and someone is reporting to you. So leadership does not mean that someone is reporting to you. So it is encouraging the leadership at all level, whether someone is reporting to you or not. So this is one set of change management principle, because that's actually help us to make a change in the organization. So these principles are focused on the change. The other set of principle, the service delivery principle, actually help us to deliver the service to the stakeholders and the customer. And take a look at what it is. Take a look at the very first principle. Understand and focus on the customer needs and expectation. What is the point if we are not delivering something to the customer? So if we are looking from the customer centricity point of view, if we understand what the customer needs, then whatever the practices we are doing is making sense. If we are just introducing some practices for the sake of practices, and we are not caring about whether the customer is getting the value or not, then probably we are missing the very important point. Because from the customer point of view, customer doesn't care whether we are using the Scrum or Kanban or less or Save or PMP or project management or whatever it is for the end product. How many times one of us, any one of us, and feel free to write an answer in the chat if you want to make it a little bit more interactive. How many times we bought any single product because it was use the Kanban or Scrum or less or Save or PMP or something else? So the whole point is that we are focusing from the customer point of view. That is our customer centricity. That is our principle. Right. Manage the work. Let the workers self-organize around it. And the self-organizing is so important. It is also mentioned in Agile Manifesto that we are at none. I saw the answer, none. Thank you, awesome. Let me see if what the other people are saying.
None.
Zero times. And that's exactly what the point is. When we are buying something because of the value, then we are expecting the same thing. Our customer are buying something because what the value we are providing to the customer, not because what the process we are doing. If we are using one of the very sophisticated process, whether it's an in-house process or whether it is a process for some well-known things, and we are not helping the customer, then the customer is not going to buy only because of the process. Process is not for the customer.
Can I add a
point? Sure, you want to add something?
Yeah, definitely. So guys, most of the times we try to make our teams busy. We want to see them busy, we want to see them working, we want to see them working. But it's not important that you keep them on their toes, always keep them working if you're not delivering anything to your customer, right? Your team being busy versus you delivering value to the customer is totally different things. You can work on 1,000 things, but your customer can still be unhappy. So if you're trying to understand if my team is busy or not, or am I giving them lots of work, or are they getting them lots of work done? And if you're trying to measure that, I don't think you're measuring the right thing, right? Try to measure what your customer is, feeling at this point. Is he happy? Is he not happy? Why is he happy? Why is he not happy? You could do 1,000 things, your customer can still be unhappy. So think about, are you trying to measure the right thing? Are you looking at the right thing? Ishan, over to you. Thanks.
Thank you. And you actually mentioned a very important thing that is related to the last principle, and regularly review the network and its policies to improve the outcome. Here, take a look at the word outcome. We focus on the outcome, not on the output. That can be, again, the whole conversation. Right. But that is the important point. What outcome we are providing to the customer, to the stakeholders? What value we are providing to them? If we are reviewing what the value we are providing and we are gradually improving that thing, that's what is important for the customer. Customer are not care about, actually, I will show you one of the example that is such an extreme example. Initially, I was a little bit shocked. In one of the organization a couple of years ago, they actually wanted to see that how many times the developers commit the code per day. I said, what? How does it matter? Do I really care the phone I'm using right now, they use the 1 commit per day or 500 commits per day? So that is just measuring the output, not the outcome. So from the customer point of view, it does not make any sense if we are too much focused on the output, not the value we are providing to the customer, and we are providing the outcome to the customer. That's exactly what the Sharaf is saying.
Yep.
So
awesome.
On these things, yeah, there is one more thing. Outcome versus output. Yeah, Sharaf, you wanted to say something?
So we're gonna spend 2 more minutes in this area. I wanted to take an opportunity to give a couple of points here, right? So the second point, emphasis on the second point, manage the work, let the worker self-organize around it. Most of the times we tend to get into the notion of managing people. The people that we hire know what they have to do. Manage the work, give the work, and let them manage, let them manage themselves. Please don't try to manage the people. Don't be a micromanager. Try to manage the work. How am I delivering value to the customer? How can I manage it? What is the first thing that I have to deliver? What is the second thing that I have to deliver? Manage the work, not the people. How many hours is he put? How many time is he working? What is he doing? What is he not doing? Please don't manage people, because we hire knowledge workers, people who know what they are doing, right? So why do we want to manage them? You hired them because they're talented, right? Let them do their job. And it also gives you, the connection to the point where encourage acts of leadership at all levels, right? Because you hired these knowledge workers, they know what they are doing. You do not know, as a manager or as a team member, both of us do not know each other's job, right? We hired them for a reason. So let them do their jobs. Decentralize the decision making. If every step that you have to do in every team have to be gone by yourself, right? Run through you, then things will not move forward, right? So Rohan, I've seen that you've raised your hand. We will take the questions at the end, and please. So definitely will take the questions at the end. Please let's hold it for the end. Okay. Okay, Jishan.
So, I just want to add one thing. I know we are still on time. So people might be asking that how can we do the self-organizing? And I will just want to add one line in this thing. So there are 3 basic ingredients we have to provide for the self-organizing team. So this is if you have to have a clear accountabilities, who is supposed to do what, well-defined boundaries, what are the boundaries you can make the decisions, and they have the shared goal. All of them know that this is what we are trying to achieve. If we provide these 3 things, then we can make the self-organizing team. If any one of this is missing, then we cannot get the self-organizing team.